All right, good morning, everybody. So I hope you all have a piece of paper or something to write with and something to write on. All right, let's start there. So that said, I want you to write down, I want you to create a triangle, okay? And the upper left, I want you to say, write down proper preparation. Proper preparation, that's number one. In the upper right, I want you to write down presence of mind. Okay, proper preparation, presence of mind, and then underneath that, I want you to write down the word trust. Okay. Now, so let's get into this. If you walk into a room and you're not prepared, you lack confidence. It's very difficult to own the room if you're not confident when you walk into the room. So, what does proper preparation mean? Well, it's specific to the meeting that you're walking into. If I'm going into a room for a listing presentation, you all know what you need, right? You need your comps, you need to know what's sold, you need to look at what's on market, what's sold off market. You need to understand the landscape. Now, ideally, you know the neighbor on the left and on the right, you know their name, you know the people in the immediate area. Alan Long created a great story around the property that he and one of our agents got an outpost. Well, he knew about Bela Lugosi in the neighborhood, and suddenly there was familiarity, right? So it is important that you take the time prior to the meeting that you're walking into to do your prep. It's silly for me to go through all the dynamics of what prep could look like. You'll know you're properly prepared if you feel confident in advance of the meeting. If you don't feel confident in advance of that meeting, there's more work to do. So it's very straightforward from that perspective, right? Be honest with yourself in your own internal metric of what is proper preparation for that. Now, if you want to ask questions as we break to Q&A, we'll do that, but I want to move forward. Presence of mind. What is your intention when you walk into a room? From my perspective, I want to build rapport. That's all I want to do out of the gate. I may have the intention, I'm going to get a listing, I've got a new buyer, I'm going to go buy a building, I'm going to walk into the room on behalf of my client and present that offer to that seller. Whatever that is fantastic, but let's talk about the immediate. The immediate is build rapport. How are you? Where would you like me to sit? The things that we've already started to discuss are ways for you to build that rapport. But what's underneath that building of rapport and that initial intentionality is your ability to be presence of mind, your ability to be present with what's going on. If I'm looking at Zarina right now, because she's in my screen, I see her pretty face. I am reading everything about Zarina as I'm presenting information. Is she having a bad day? Is she having a good day? Did I walk in and she and her husband just had a massive fight where I'm going, ooh, I may be getting 10% of these people's attention. And as much as I'm ready, the smartest thing to do in that room may be to say, I'm sensing something else may be important that you need to attend to. Am I reading that accurately, or is this still a good time? Because if it's not a good time, you're not going to have their attention. You're not going to be able to establish that rapport and take it to the next level, and you're not going to get that second meeting. So better to forego your own attachment to an outcome because you're ready and you're a panther ready to seize the space to say, this may not be that moment. But the only way you get there is if you have that presence of mind to build rapport. Now, let's say you have the opportunity to go forward and it is still a good time and things are going swimmingly. You want to engage in active listening. What is active listening? People always say, well, what makes you a good realtor? Well, I'm a really good listener, right? But what does that mean? So let me define active listening for a moment. You ask a question, you're met with a vague response, right? Why am I here? Is one of the things we've talked about in the past. I think we talked about this in the last session with Daniel, who presented an offer. One of the first questions I always ask, and Scotty gave the note as well when he gave his feedback, was, I don't want to make any assumptions here. Tell me why I'm here and how I can be of service. Right? That's how I always start. It's a very open-ended question. It's a very inviting question. Someone may say, I want to sell my house, or whatever their response is. But that's only the first cut, right? So active listening means listening for where is my next question? How do I, and the question is, am I clear enough to speak about what is being asked of me? If I'm not clear about what I'm there to do, I'm going to ask more questions so that I can get my own clarity. So presence of mind starts with, tell me why I'm here, and I'm listening for those answers. How clear are those answers? If they're not crystal clear to me, I'm asking another cut of a question. And again, because I'm talking theoretically, I can't tell you what question to ask, right? It's really based on what's present in the moment. But if I were to ask Serena why I'm here, and Serena says I'm here to sell my house, I would say, what does that look like to you? What is the timing on that? Do you have any idea about pricing? Do you have any idea of what a broker does? Do you understand what the process is? I'm going to throw 5 or 6 questions, and Serena's going to go, I said, that's the menu. Pick whatever one you want. What's most important to you? And I get a little smile, and now I'm very much listening. If Serena says, I want to sell my house as quickly as possible, why? Is there someplace you want to go? And what will you do with the funds you have when you do it, right? So that's the idea of active listening. The listening dynamic is where am I not clear? What's the question I'm going to ask? And the more you pinpoint your questions, the more you engage the client to consider what the real answer is. You see, someone goes to sell their house for whatever the reason, but if it's a knee-jerk sale, right? If it's I'm getting a divorce and I'm done, I'm over this, just sell it, right? That's a very different perspective than someone who's lived there for 30 years and they want someone who's going to love the house as much as they've loved the house. You got to play the room. You do that through presence of mind. All right, I've been blowing through all that because I want to get to the third point, which is the most important point that supersedes the other two. Are you ready? Trust. Okay, so let me ask you 3 questions. Do you want your client to trust you? I would hope so, right? To have faith in your ability? I certainly hope so, right? And to ultimately hire you. Great, right? We've established that, but here's the rub. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust in your abilities? And would you hire you? Now, if you are not locked and loaded on those 3 answers of self-trust, of self-faith, and you bet your bottom dollar I'd hire me, because you must start right there, because there's no way you are going to own a room. There is no way you're going to command people's not only attention, but faith and trust in you to say, when the going gets tough, based on what I'm seeing in this situation, based on what I know is coming down the line, based on what I know in my experience, my strong suggestion is we go 1 of 2 ways here. We do this one to get that result, or we go this way to get that result. Which result do you want? I want result A. Well, then this is the best path that I know to get there. What's your concern about that path? How can I help you get a better understanding of why we're going down that path so you have as much confidence about that path that I do? And then, baby, let's go. But it starts with trust. And it starts with my trust in myself, that I feel a degree of comfort and confidence, that I know, or I have a high degree of certainty that if we do these beats, we're going to get the outcome that I think we both want. Now, how many of us truly trust ourselves? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know for myself that it wasn't until I made a conscious and gritting my teeth commitment to the statement that I'm about to share with you all did I actually ultimately have the greatest degree of self-trust in myself. And before I give you that statement, let me just tell you how trust is eroded. When we're with friends and someone asks us a question and we don't give them a really accurate answer, we start to erode that trust in ourselves because we realize we're lying to that person. And if we're going to lie to the other person, we start lying to ourselves. How many of us have been on a diet? How many of us have decided I'm going to lay off whatever it is for a week or 2 weeks because I know in this moment I need to take better care of myself? We make the commitment and then we break the commitment. Every time you break a commitment that you've made to yourself, there's a part of you that goes, I don't need to buy into this commitment because I just know I'm going to break it. Sometimes we know we're going to break it as soon as the words come out of our mouth. Other times, the best of intentions, but something derails us. And then we do the justification game. Well, was it really that important? Did I really need to do that? What was I thinking? Maybe I was out of my mind. Well, that's not that important. Or we make a commitment. Yeah, let's get together this weekend. Oh, absolutely, we're going to get together. When do you want to do it? Thursday, 3 o'clock. You know, or that's the weekend. So Saturday at 3 o'clock. And you know the whole time, I'm not doing this Saturday at 3 o'clock. I know I've already got something going on. I'm going to try and placate the situation. And then I'll go, you know what? Friday afternoon, I'm so sorry I have to cancel. Well, these are demonstrations of someone who is not honoring their word. And these are demonstrations of someone who is going to soon lack self-trust in themselves. And so the commitment that I made to myself, and I know when I did it, it was 1986. And I did a personal growth seminar called Insight Seminars. And the ideas of guilt and resentment came up. And we create guilt and our resentment because the actions of ourselves differ from the perceptions of who we think we are. If I think I'm a good person, but I go swat little kids all day long, well, maybe my actions are different than what I think I'm this wonderful person, right? Or if I think Zarina is supposed to be a certain way, and I hold her in this esteem, and then Zarina's actions differ from what my perception of Zarina is supposed to be, I'm going to resent Zarina. No offense, Zarina. But it's going to be, because that's what's going to happen. That's how we start resenting people, because the way we see them is different than the way they are. Or we start feeling guilt about ourselves because I'm an honest person. I'm a trustworthy person, but I lie to myself and I lie to others. Then I create guilt for myself. So the commitment I made to myself was every single utterance, every word that comes out of my mouth will be the truth as I know it to the best of my ability in that moment. I will tell you the truth because I care more about the trust that I have in myself, and I'm going to tell myself the truth. Because if I tell you a truth, it's got to be my truth. And if it's not accurate, Nick, what did you think of me in the play? Oh, God, now it's opinion. I said, well, I thought there were some really good things. Now, I can always look for the silver lining, right? But I'm not going to say, if I thought you stunk, I'm not going to say you were fantastic. I would say, listen, it was so courageous you getting up there. I think it was, I wasn't getting up there, but you did it. And so I think from that perspective, you really need to applaud yourself. And I think from that point of reference, it was fantastic. That's the truth, right? But and now let's take it to practical reality of our business, right? Someone wants 2.5 for their house and you think it's worth 1.9. How do you overcome that? Gently, but with the truth. So, and that could very well easily be, I hear you want 2.5 for the house. I'm hard pressed to think that I or anyone can deliver that for you because there's no substantiating data to do it. So is it, if I don't sell my house for 2.5, I'm not selling my house because you owe $1 million on it and you need that 1.5 million less the closing costs to move forward with your life? Then I go, okay, then perhaps we're not selling it. But if it's really important to move forward with your life, could you do it with $1 million? Do you need that 1.5 million? And how happy are you where you are right now? So what I'm doing is I'm asking pinpoint questions, right? To get you to expand your consciousness away from what you're hanging on to, I need 2.5 or bust, to really start to understand what's really at stake here. And if someone says, if I don't sell the house at 2.5, I love it here, I'm good to go. Great. Stay put. enjoy it. Let me give you some ideas about what you could do to make it even a more enjoyable experience for you. And then when you're ready to sell and we revisit the market, let's do that. Because I'd rather walk away from that listing and keep a good relationship and have them respect me because I did tell them the truth. And then when they do have that need, and that need supersedes the perception of what they think they need, they will then come into an alignment with what the market will bear, and you are there to be of service. But it emanates because you believe and you own your own trust. I believe my own trust and faith. I don't know how many times you people have heard me stand up here since in our young tenure together, but I have absolute confidence. If I tell it to you, it's my truth, and you can bank on it. That's how I walk into a room, and that's how I own that room, because I'm bringing the best of who I am, the most comprehensive, self-aware dynamic of who I am, and I'm one of the main reasons I'm there is to genuinely be of service, because that's fun to me, and to see you light up, and to see your world change and how I could help you change that world. That's fun. That's one of the reasons why I'm in this business. And those of you that have heard me recently ask the question, why are you in this business? Why do you do what you do? Why are you at Avenue 8? I mean you to answer those questions for yourself, because on the other side of that, you then come away with a much clearer understanding of what your value proposition is and how you can demonstrate it. That, my friends, is what I have for you towards owning a room. And I hope I've stimulated a question or two. And if I haven't, God bless you. We can move on with our day.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was so insightful. And I love kind of the thought being, you don't need to be interesting, you need to be interested. So that's really great. I will go ahead and open the floor now, guys. As we said, we already have Sam with a hand raised. We'll go ahead and unmute your mic, Sam, so you can talk directly.
Hello.
Good morning, Sam.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Signature Sam. Signature
Hello,
West.
Signature West. Hi. So, new agents come and they're doing their best, and, they believe they trust themselves to some extent, but inside they are terrified from their first listing appointment or their first one-on-one encounter. But it takes practice. So how do they become secure without having to try or practice 10 times over to gain that security in themselves?
Well, you've asked and answered your own question, Sam. And then you backed off it with the tag of your question. If you want to be good at something, you got to practice it. And if you think you're going to get good at something without practicing it, you're going to feel guilty very quickly, because your action is different than your perception of yourself. You know you got it down when you can walk into the room and say, I'm confident. If you consider an 8-hour day and in a profession, and you know what, the vast majority of the world punches a clock. We got into this business because we didn't want to punch a clock, but the vast majority of these people don't want to do the fucking work, and that's what it takes. So if you want to get really good at this, spend a lot of time in the gym, look in a lot of eyes, and say, this is who I am, this is my technique, this is how I play this beat, tell me what's important to you, here are the comps, why I earn my commission. If you're not willing to do the work as a young agent, get out. Go punch a clock. And I hope maybe I pissed a couple of people off, because if I pissed you off right now, that means you care enough to prove me wrong. And I'm not saying anybody can't do it, but you better show up, and you better show up big, because the competition is stiff. And in this market dynamic that we're in, you got seasoned veterans that are scared out of their mind right now. And they're gonna have to double down on what they thought they could get away with not having to do anymore. And so that's what you're up against. But you can win. Fresh perspective, fresh set of eyes is glorious. Look at it a different way than I look at it, and you'll beat me.
Interesting. Thank you.
What's interesting about it, Sam?
The perception. I mean, I look at new agents and I feel for them, especially in the last few years. And I know one of our agents is doing his best, and but I also look at him and I say, yes, you have to try one more time.
You
It
don't have
just
to, but
what?
Sam, you don't have to try one more time. How, what is the downstroke of not trying? You got to try something else. Where do you want to invest yourself?
Well, he loves what he does. He loves the industry. Most
Great.
agents, yeah.
That's great. That's all you need. Now go to work and put yourself in rooms so you can truly enjoy the business. See, getting 2 signatures on a page to me is everything. I love it. I made a deal. And all the work that went into putting those 2 signatures on a page is the art form.
Yep.
And then you got to keep those 2 signatures on the page through the inspections, through the disclosures, through the loans, through the panic 2 a.m. moments where they go, oh my gosh, did I just make a mistake? Well, let's look at it. Did you? Why did you do it in the first place? And then you go through it again. That's the human nature, artistic dynamic of this business.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Any other questions while we have you? All right. I do see that Conrad has a question, has his hand raised. So we'll go ahead and unmute your mic, Conrad. Good
Good.
morning.
How are you?
Very
Good
good.
morning,
And how about
Conrad.
yourself?
Well, I have a question because obviously the market is changing, and I still keep running into sellers who have sort of missed the multi-offer, way above asking boat. And I don't, other than substantiating with facts and figures of really what it is, because numbers don't lie, is there a way of communicating that effectively so that they understand that this is still the best we can do for them to get them from where they are to where they want to be? I'd just like to hear, any suggestions on that dialogue.
Sure. And it's a wonderful question, because what you're doing is you're trying to get someone to get beyond, their FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, that they lost their golden opportunity. They weren't ready to sell in that moment. If they're truly ready to sell now, this is the market condition. There's not good markets, they're not bad markets. They're markets when you need to engage in the market. And I would, the idea of I missed the boat. You didn't miss the boat. There's a boat waiting for you right now. And I would just do my best to get them off of what they thought they missed out on and put them into the reality of, well, let's focus on what's present right now. Let's focus on the marketplace. And here's the good news. Even though the market may not be as hot as it was, say, 6 months ago, and I concur that that's the case, but think about how much your house has gone up over the last 24 months. Think about, or the last 36 months. Think about all of those dynamics and realize you are so much in better shape now than you were then. And so if you truly want to sell, let's talk about why you want to sell and what you do with those dollars, because what you may perceptionally give up on the front, if those monies are going back into real estate, you have a very strong chance of being able to buy something more attractively than what it would have been 6 months ago. And there's more inventory right now. See, I look at this market dynamic as an opportunity for buyers to be able to take a little more time to do their due diligence, to engage in negotiations that are far more practical and long lasting, and where everybody feels to the best of their abilities that they got a fair shake. See, you ask a buyer who bought a house in the last 24 months, the only fair shake that they feel that they bought was the fact that they won.
Yeah.
I got the house. I sold my soul to get it, but I won.
Yeah.
And now they're left with what they got. And don't be surprised if we start seeing some lawsuits coming down the line. So there's every market is its own dynamic, Conrad. And I would just really focus on the reality of this market, honor the perception of what they feel they lost. Don't discount it, but just hold their hand like they're 2 years old and walk them back into the reality of what's present now.
My other question is regarding commissions, because over the last couple of years, we have gone from kind of the typical 6% commission, 3 and 3. And as the market became easier for people to sell, that commission has waned a little bit. And yet, I firmly believe you get what you pay for. So I want to be able to, in addition to what I'm bringing to the table, prove it and show that I just to have that conversation with somebody about commissions these days. I want to get back up to where it was workable.
So let me ask you this, Conrad, when you were getting a 6% commission, would you give more than 3% to the cooperating broker? Would you just keep 3%?
Sometimes I would take a reduced commission because in my opinion, I want to get buyers looking at your house. And let's face it, we are human beings, and some of us are a little more swayed, and all of a sudden that house is a little prettier if there's a little more money attached to it.
Funny how that works. So that's the commission discussion. Commission is incentive, right? As I've said in the past, if you want a horse to run, you got to feed it. So let's look at commissions and let's look how we engage in that. If I'm telling you part of my value proposition to you is a strategist, let's look at the strategy of commission. You see, as soon as you take it away from, well, this is what you're going to pay me, and you make them part of the dynamic, and it becomes the intelligent decision for their interest and benefit that they're going to give this type of commission structure to help incentivize the marketplace to come to them when it's slowing down a little bit, and you influence the influencer, and we start offering 3.25% to the cooperating broker to get them in the game. You give me 2 3/4. I'm participating in that to help you sell your house. It's no longer about I get 2.75. My discount is to support you in the process. So, and again, you meet people where they are. Sure, you get what you pay for, but remember, they don't know what they're paying for yet because they don't go through this all the time. It's a great little catchphrase for us, but you really need to articulate what that looks like. What is, if you as a seller sign on at a discounted commission, what are you really getting? You're getting someone who's got a business model that works at a discount. The first thing to be sacrificed in discount is service. So before we talk about commission any further, what kind of service would you like? How quickly would you like your agent to respond to you? How would you like them to communicate with you? What kind of negotiator do you think they're going to be? Are they going to fight for you, or based on that volume model of discount, are they just going to take the first offer and take it and try and ram it down your throat, as opposed to being your ambassador and your negotiating protection? See, all of the things are just about put it back to the individual that is making the decision, and that's your client. But you got to incentivize them and educate them as to why it's the smart decision for them to act as they should.
Yeah. And it is true. I mean, we have the market has softened a little bit, and the days of multiple offers, 30 and 40 offers on a property has sort of passed at the moment. And what I think what you're saying is, if I incentivize a buyer's agent to show your house, there is a chance that we may bring in more than one offer and make more money for you.
Right. And you know what? I love
what matters.
Right. And Conrad, I love that you're saying may. You're making no guarantees in your equation. I can't tell how often I've heard, we do this, that'll happen. It may
It may.
happen, but let's position you for it to happen. Let's give you the best opportunity for it to happen. So I so appreciate the way you presented that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Conrad. And we have one other hand raised, and it's our very own Alan Long.
Uh-oh. What's Al guy? What's his question?
Oh, good morning. Actually, it was just kind of an add-on to what Sam was asking about as newer agents going for listings. And as a newer agent, when I was up for a listing, I would literally say to the seller, if I was you, I would hire me. And you know why I would hire me is because you are going to be my only listing. I have to sell your house, and I will sell your house. I am going to take the brochure from your house, and I am personally going to every real estate office within 25 miles of your house and handing a brochure to every real estate agent I run into in that office. I am going to every open house on Sunday with your brochures. I'm going to every broker's open house with your brochures, constantly promoting your house. And I'll tell you right now, there's not another real estate agent in town who would do what I'm going to do for your house, period. So I tried to push what I was bringing to the table, and that was enthusiasm, passion, and lots of time in which to sell their house. So I was upfront with what may be considered my shortcomings, but I turned them around to make them into what my strengths were. So that would be my recommendation as a new agent when you're up for a listing and against some stiff competition. Thanks.
Good stuff. That's true.
Thank you so much, Alan. As Sam says in the chat, very good points. All right. And looks like we have time for one more. Devin, go ahead. We've unmuted your mic.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, Devin. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I have a question about builders and developers. Like, how do you approach those kinds of people for potential, future listings with them?
You cut out a little bit there. You talking about developers and future listings with
Yeah.
developers? Is that accurate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, one size does not fit all, Devin, but it's really a question of building the relation, bringing the human into it. Now, if, one of the first questions I would ask of a developer is, if I bring you a piece of dirt, do I have the listing on the back end? And the follow-on question to that is, if I haven't brought you the dirt, do I have an opportunity to represent you? Because you'll gauge their loyalty in a minute and you'll see where your opportunity is. So that's where I would start. Now, do you go to construction sites? Do you see, ask whoever's there, who's the general, is the owner here? Do you do that?
I have in the past, and I also go to those meetup groups with investors and developers and stuff that are local.
Yeah.
So I meet them, and then I also research like big, new developments, and I find, who's doing the construction or who's involved with the developing of this piece of land, and then I call them right away, but I don't really know what to say, so I want to make sure I'm like presenting myself in the right light, so that way things can move forward.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at my opportunities, and we're back to own the room, right? I try my best to put myself in the developer's seat. I try, what does the developer care about? Forget what I care about. What does the person on the other side of the table care about? And if a developer cares about service and communication, that's one lane. If they care about the lowest price to sell it from a commission perspective, that's another lane. If they care about marketing and where the buyers are coming from and how you're going to get the buyers, that's another lane. You have an answer to those three lanes, you stand a much better chance of walking into a room and commanding it. And here's how I would do it. If I said, if I'm in your shoes, Mr. and Mrs. Developer, I think that there are 4 key things that you care about. And from my perspective, I think they're these, and I would rattle off those 4 things. Which of those 4 things is most important to you, and or is there a 5th that I didn't consider? They'll probably give you one of those 4, right? And now you're off to the
Right.
races. If it's number 3, let me tell you how I deal with number 3 and how I think it's going to serve your best interests. And it becomes a very proactive meeting.
Okay.
It's not me trying to guess what they want or what they don't want and how do I ingratiate myself with them. They're developers. That's a totally different mindset. They're like bang, 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 right? So your ability to meet them
Right.
with that energy and say, this is how I work. This is how I deliver for you. Does that resonate with you? If it does, great. Let's do some business together. If it doesn't, what could I have done differently to help me for my own learning and growth next time? You see, just because a meeting doesn't go well doesn't mean you can't take full advantage of that meeting by asking a question about how you could have done better, because then the human dynamic comes in and people ultimately want to help each other. They go, you know what? I got someone who's bullets and he's been with me for 22 years. And, I'm loyal to him. But what I would suggest you do, and because I really appreciated the proactive nature, Devin, but I would tweak this or I would tweak that. And you go, you know what? I so appreciate that feedback. And then I'd write him a thank you note. And who knows if 2 weeks from now, someone didn't piss somebody else off and now you got an opportunity.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Yeah. I like to stay on the, top of mind of these kinds of people, but which isn't that hard, but it's like, what am I bringing to the table? So I just have to get that all figured out
Well, when do you want to have it figured out, Devin?
today.
Love it. Get off the phone with me and go to work.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, Devin.
Thank you so much, Devin. All right. Well, it looks like that's going to do it for today's section, guys. Thank you so much for who all have attended. We are hoping that after today's session, you are feeling more confident in how to own the room and handle today's competitive market with grace. We will be sending out a recording of today's session and a follow-up email shortly. So if you'd like to share this with any of your network, you definitely can. If there were any questions we may not have gotten to, or if anything comes up at any point moving forward, please feel free to reply directly either to that email or reach out to our Palm Springs office. We're going to go ahead and drop that email in the chat. It will be contact@avenue8.com. Our next session will be this Wednesday, August 3rd at 2 p.m., where the Avenue 8 leadership team will be having a conversation about the key topics from Inman Connect Las Vegas. So please keep an eye out on your email inbox for those details. Thanks again, Nick, for leading us through today's session. Thanks for all.
Thank you, Colin. Thanks, Irina.
Of course. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Bye.